Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 3 of Aggretsuko Season 2. So last time we met Anai, I think that was his name. He is the new employee at Retsuko's job, and he is kind of psycho. So he starts off just being kind of a overexcited employee. He's like really happy to be there, really happy to do everything he can. Kind of reminds me of Ida from My Hero Academia in terms of his personality. And then we see after Retsuko makes maybe a couple small, very minor mistakes in coaching him, he kind of goes off the deep end. Emails her late at night, goes off on her completely, tells her to only reply in person or in message and email. And she replies in person, and he acts all nice, but then when he's out of shot, he messages her again saying reply in email, and he's like practically drooling and foaming at the mouth. His eyes are rolling back into his head. He's just completely nuts. And he's legitimately scaring her. And me as the viewer. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he would actually do much of anything except maybe like he wouldn't attack her or do anything really drastic. I feel. He comes across as like the most he would do would be possibly to spread like rumors or whatnot about her. But I guess we'll see. But there's also the blind date that Retsuko was set up on by her mom. And he seemed like a cool guy. And not just because he's a polar bear. But again, the fact that Retsuko's mom set her up on this blind date against her wishes, it just really irritates me, as I've said before. And that is a theme of what's going on so far this season, one of the underlying themes that Aggretsuko is known for. This time we have the overbearing parent idea, which again, we've seen a lot in other anime and cartoons and shows in general. So it's not a new concept by any means. But it's like, she literally broke into her daughter's house, which I think I mentioned last time. I understand that in Japan there's a lot more openness with family. Actually, I might have mentioned this in another video too. But yeah, in Japan there's a lot more openness with family. Family are a lot more connected. Even when a child moves out, the parents and the child will often like be at each other's houses, have dinner together and stuff. Keep in very close contact, see each other all the time. Unlike here in America, where basically a lot of the culture is basically all about independence and kicking the children out as fast as they can after they become adults. And I'm not going to get into the whole spiel about this. I'm just saying there's very clearly a difference. But at the same time, it's still not okay that she broke into her daughter's house without letting her know. Like, if she was going to come over and told Retsuko, yeah, I'm coming over, that's one thing. But the fact that Retsuko came home, thought there was a burglar, and called the cops, like, one, Retsuko handled that excellently, the way she should have. And two, she was completely right to do that. Like, to her knowledge, that it could have been a burglar. There's no reason for her to have believed it was just necessarily going to be her mother. Because she had no forewarning. I just don't like that kind of thing. And I don't like the entire overbearing parents in general. And now I'm not talking about the trope. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I don't like those kind of people in real life. Especially those kind of parents who try to do this kind of shit, especially try to force their kids into relationships and all, but just try to force their opinions and thoughts and beliefs and everything on their children. When, like, you're trying to live your life and your mother is trying to tell you how to live your life and everything and telling you how you should be doing everything, it gets annoying. And on top of just the general annoyance, it's really disgusting. Now, you could say it's like kind of the complete opposite of the total independence idea that we have here in America. It's basically like total dependence, just general dependence. It's basically they want you to be completely dependent on them and what they believe and everything. And and granted, a lot of people here in America have a lot of parents try to force their beliefs on their children too, but usually don't take it into action as heavy as this. Um, it's just, it's something that bothers me because I've gone through it. I have parents who try to force their beliefs and ideals onto me and try to force me to do things their way. And I'm all for codependent relationships. I think all relationships should be codependent by nature. But that means codependent. That means that things should be worked out together. And that doesn't mean that people still can't form their own thoughts and opinions and viewpoints and stuff. They can in a codependent relationship. Believe it or not. I, I just especially don't like the fact that she's forcing her into things. And granted, Retsuko, as I said before, is an adult. And she could just say no. She could just tell her mom to fuck on off and tell her, I'm not going on this date, and then not go. She could have done that. And honestly, she would have been completely in the right to do so. But Retsuko, unfortunately, is a lot like me in the fact that she's very, what's the word? Non-confrontational. She doesn't like confrontation, which is kind of why she does the death metal karaoke in the first place. So she tends to not speak her mind when she needs to. Oh, excuse me. And in this kind of scenario where she really does need to speak her mind, and she did tell her mom what she thought of it, but she didn't go far enough and she didn't, like, take it as far as she needed to. I just feel like she could have done a lot better with that. And I really wish she did. Because again, it's completely wrong what her mother was doing. But either way, I am enjoying this so far, and I hope that this third episode continues to be another great showing from this series. It's not the best show I've seen by any means, but I do definitely enjoy it. So let's see what it's got in store for us. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link down there. Blech. Okay, I'm going to start that over because I messed up somewhere. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So Aggretsuko is one of those weird shows that is a slice of life, but actually has an antagonist. Because Season 1 had director Tone as an antagonist. He was the main source of conflict with Retsuko. And there were other sources of conflict, like the one other manager who's above her. I cannot remember her name. I think she's a manatee, I want to say. I'm not actually 100% sure on this. She might just be a snake. I don't know. But either way, um, and obviously those two are still notable in this season. But Anai is definitely the main antagonist of season two. He is proving to be a legitimate source of not only conflict, but actual trouble for Retsuko. And you could say her mother kind of is too, but not to as much of a degree. Her mother is more obviously playing on the overbearing mother trope. And I'll get to that in a moment, but I definitely want to talk about Anai here. As I said in my pre-thoughts, Anai is psycho. He's crazy. And Washimi and Gori were kind of like saying, oh, maybe it's just that he's so young and he's just starting adult life and just not used to it and he's overreacting because of it. I don't think that's it. I honestly just don't think that's it. I think he's just crazy. Um, so we see that she forgets to message him and he goes crazy because of it, because he had set a deadline. And he's telling her that he's going to record everything they say and and he's basically threatening her. And we see that she does talk back to him, but she doesn't go obviously as far as she could and probably should. But she did actually speak out against him, which is good. I like how she's becoming more, well, able to become more outspoken against these kind of injustices. That's very good for her. It's healthy to speak your mind out against this kind of stuff. And I'm speaking as someone who is non-confrontational. um, but yeah, so we see that she does speak out against him, and he's recording it. But at that point, I don't think she cares. She doesn't go too far, as we see. But yeah, he does end up submitting a report about it to Director Tone, who seems more amused by it, funny enough. I don't know exactly where that's going to go, though. It didn't actually explain that yet. Like, it didn't show, like, Tone fire her or even suspend her or anything. We just see that he finds it kind of amusing that she laid into him, basically. Um, I'm really interested to see where this goes with Anai. Like, this is a fascinating storyline. Because the first season did some great stuff, but it didn't really have that fascinating, exciting of a storyline, I feel. Um, Now, the season has also, of course, been delving into Retsuko's mom and the fact that she's trying specifically to get Retsuko on a date so she can get married. And I've talked about this plenty last time, but just as a recap, I do not agree with a parent arranging a child's dates or marriage. I think that's extremely horrible for a parent to do. But at the same time, I also acknowledge that Retsuko did like, at least, the one guy she was set up on a date with. But she's not ready to actually date someone or get married or anything. She just needs time to be herself and all. And as I said in the reaction, that's perfectly fine. But her mother doesn't seem to understand this. And so she tries to set her up with some more people, but Retsuko's just not taking it. And she uses the excuse that she's going to start taking driving lessons. And it works, so she just kind of goes with it. And I talked about this during the reaction itself, but yeah, in Japan, public transport's a much bigger thing, especially with Tokyo, because Tokyo is so packed with people. A lot of people, when they're working in the city, will take public transport to and from work. Um, and they'll just walk around whenever they're going somewhere. Public transport is huge in Japan. Huge. You see it in all of these kinds of anime. Students take it to go to school. People take it to go to work. And you always see the trains and stuff are super packed. Like you see in Aggretsuko here. Obviously, it's done to a comedic level in Aggretsuko, but still. Um, you see them super, super packed, and it's like, because everyone's using them. Um, and it kind of makes me think of the People Mover in Detroit during YomaCon every year. Because I go to YomaCon, and the People Mover is always packed, especially during Fridays and Saturdays of the convention. Um, I have been in the People Mover when it's been completely packed in the comically overdone way like Aggretsuko does it. I've been in that situation. It's not comfortable, but it's real and it happens. um, and in Japan, again, where public transport's a lot bigger a thing, especially going into Tokyo, yeah, that's going to happen a lot more often. So it's not as surprising that someone like Retsuko wouldn't have a license necessarily. So, but she still wants one just in case, and there's nothing wrong with that. So she goes to, as we see, get a license. I love how the woman at the counter, who I think is a border collie, at least that's what she looked like to me. Border collies are fucking adorable dogs, by the way. I love them. They're probably one of my top favorite breeds of dogs, along with pugs and whatnot. um, but yeah, it's like Resco's like, basically, I want to escape the everyday horrors of my life or something like that. And I love how the border collie's like, yeah, yeah, I get that. Just wow. Um, so she heads out of the office, presumably to take her test, I guess. And she sees someone else who had just finished with a driving test and is getting railed into by the instructor. And it appears like Retsuko's blushing and all because he appears to be around her age, and I guess she sees him as cute. And I've seen his character design before in the thumbnail on Netflix. You know how Netflix, for each of its shows, has the little thumbnail? I've seen his design in there before, so I guess he's going to be a recurring character. And I'm sure he's going to be just like the one dude, Risasuke, was in season one. Gonna kind of be a temporary love interest for Retsuko. Especially because, it shows her blushing and everything toward him and all of that jazz. And it's definitely kind of playing that idea. Now, we saw very little of him in this episode, but if I were to guess like what kind of person he was based on what we did see, he seems very laid back and relaxed. He almost seems like he doesn't take a lot too seriously. Um, I don't want to say he seems lazy necessarily. He just seems like he's not like fully into anything. Like he's not like largely passionate. He seems very, like I said, very laid back and relaxed. He's just taking things in stride. Um, but I mean, hey, you never know. You never know. I mean, we've already seen how Anai is different from his initial impression. Um, but it's still kind of playing around with this idea of Retsuko's love life. Like it did that in season one too, and even the holiday special. But it's still super obvious that her and Haida would make the best like couple. That Haida would be the best person for her. It's super obvious. And I understand that in real life, people will go around not seeing the obvious about that. Like, yeah, that does happen. But still, from the perspective of the show, from its writing and everything, like it's just kind of telling us basically that her and Haida it's practically telling us that they should be a couple, but then it's playing around with her with others, and it's just like, why are you dragging this out? We already know who she should be with. You've made it really, really super obvious. I don't know. Like seriously, like the only other people I'd probably ship her with are her friends, her other friends. and it's mainly just Haida and oh, what is her name? Feniko. It's mainly just those two. And honestly, I ship Feniko more with the deer girl, whose name I cannot remember right now for some reason. Um, I just I just don't see any better ship, honestly, for her than Haida. For her, yeah, for Retsuko than with Haida. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this guy will end up being good for her. Maybe. I don't know. But I am, like I said, I'm very interested to see where this goes, especially the storyline with Anai, because that is just so fascinating right now. Especially since he actually did submit the report and everything. Like, what is going to happen now? Is Tone actually going to just be amused by this all, or is he actually going to get angry? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. And I know some of you probably would wish I would do more than one episode of this at a time because they're shorter. But I think I'm fine with the one episode right now. We might do two at some point, but for now at least one is fine. Especially today because I have to pre-record something. I have to pre-record She-Ra for tomorrow, and I need to get to Ori. I need to get to Ori. I have to record some of that today. So yeah. Either way, thank you so much for tuning in. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Aggretsuko Season 2. And thank you so much, once again, for continuing to support the channel and being generally awesome.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and thank you so much for tuning into today's video. If you want to check out any of my social media links and more, please check them out over to the side. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please leave those down below. In the meantime, though, thank you so much once again for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.